The greatest 2 minutes in sports. That's right. The Kentucky Derby, 6:57 p.m. Eastern this Saturday. I'm Kelly Stewart here on WagerTalk TV, joined by Marco D'Angelo and Sean Alvarez. Marco was chuckling in the background because there was another joke to be made there, but we're not going to make it on this show because we mean business. We are here to pick winners in the 2026 Kentucky Derby. Marco D'Angelo, give me a little bit of a synopsis behind your background before we get into this exciting race card.
Well, Kelly, I've been betting horses my entire life, but not only do I bet horses, I own horses, I race horses, I breed horses, and I've been doing that since 1986. So when I give you my insight, you're getting my insight not only as a bettor, but an owner that I know, both sides of the backstretch and the grandstand. So there's a lot of experts that show up at Kentucky Derby week on sports Twitter and internet, YouTube, and so forth. We've got the credentials to do so.
We sure do. Sean Alvarez handicaps horse racing all year long. That is why he is the second chair here on Pony Pundits. Sean, let everybody know what they can expect from you, not only during the Kentucky Derby, but throughout the race season.
Yeah, like you said, I'm handicapping horse racing throughout the year, January through December, not really taking any time off. And what I like to do is kind of give you a little bit of a choose your own adventure with my plays. I give you my top selections. I give you other opinions on my selections in the race, but I'm also giving you plays with pick fives, exactas, win bets, how I see the card to play out, kind of more in a contest type of setting. I did qualify for the NHC by winning the LRF Cares tournament back in at Del Mar a few years back, as well as cashing a 6th place finish in the Kentucky Derby contest a few years back as well. So kind of try to use that contest mentality and pick and choose winners and winning plays where I see a little bit more value and not just making a bet just because a race is going on.
All right, today we're going to touch on some Derby history and whether certain post positions matter. We're going to talk about some long shots you guys need to have your eye on. And of course, we're going to have a nice little team ticket trifecta here at the end of the show for everyone. We're going to get right into it. Sean, I want to go to you first. I want to talk about Renegade here because we know that after the post positions get drawn on Saturday, oh boy, as Marco said, here they come on X and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, and they've got all of this information for you. And then Renegade, who was potentially going to be the odds-on favorite, he draws the dreaded 1 hole. No horse has won it since Ferdinand in 1986. Tell me whether you think that history by that one spot actually matters here, or does Renegade deserve to be a little bit better of a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to hear a lot about, what the one post does to kind of, different horses and their history. Obviously, like you said, dating back to 1986 with Ferdinand, but the one hole gives no favors to horses. You've got 19 horses on the outside, and what you will hear a little bit, in Renegade's defense is that he doesn't necessarily need to be anywhere near the front end. Irad Ortiz is going to take him back a little bit. He's going to save all the ground. But like I just alluded to with 19 horses, how is Irad Ortiz not only going to get out of that 1 hole off the rail, but also in, carrying momentum and not getting that momentum stopped? A lot of horses to his outside should be picking up their feet kind of around, that clubhouse turning for home. And if they're getting a jump on him, he really has to be much the best to win on that first Saturday in May. And I'm not necessarily sold on the fact that he is the best horse, or at least, so much the best horse in this class. I didn't necessarily love his Arkansas Derby. I didn't think he necessarily beat, a lot of horses in that race. He was the odds-on favorite. He did it, kind of his own way. And he went wide, sweep the field. And if he does that, come on Saturday, Irad is going to have to pick and choose his spot to get out of there. But also, if he swings wide, we're looking 8, 9, 10 paths wide where, it looks like he's going to high five the people in the stands as opposed to trying to save ground. So I don't necessarily think it's a death sentence with the fact that he doesn't need to be on the lead. He doesn't have to break like a shot out of the gate. And the new gate does give him a little bit of help. A few years back in the day, we only had a 16-horse gate. We had to bring in the auxiliary gate. And what that did with, bringing in that extra gate was it actually put the horse on the rail almost inside the rail. So not only did that horse have to break well, but he also had to come out towards those 19 horses. And it just really became a bad trip. He doesn't get that with this time with the 20 horse gate. But he is going to have to be much the best to win on Saturday from the rail.
Marco, I'm going to go in post position order here. And so coincidentally, we're going to skip to post 5. The winningest post in Derby history. Always Dreaming in 2017, California Chrome in 2014, Funny Side in 2003. Since the Derby's inception, this post has won 10 times. Now, we all know one of my favorite things about the Derby is the fun names of the horses. And no, that's not how I handicap them. But right to party at 30-1, how come no one is talking about this horse?
Well, Kelly, first of all, let's address the winning post position. In post 5 is a good post position. There's no question about it, because you're far enough off the rail that you can break straight out, decide where you want to be. But you've got to remember that we've got 20 horse fields now. We didn't always have 20 horse fields. Okay. There were smaller fields way back in the day when we've had all of these Kentucky Derbies. This is Kentucky Derby 152. So there's going to be more winners from some of those smaller post numbers simply because they've had more tries at winning the Kentucky Derby. Now, as far as right to party goes, you know what? He might as well just go party now or hope the rest of the field is partying the night before, because to me, he's got no shot in this race. He just doesn't appear to be fast enough. His highest buyer speed figure, and he's had 4 career starts. So we're starting to see where he's, what he's going to be. He's going to continue to improve. Don't get me wrong, but to jump from an 81 buyer speed figure, which is his high point so far, which was his last race, to get to where he needs to be in this race, you're going to be looking at, a buyer speed figure in the Kentucky Derby, upper 90s or, 100 to 103. I can't see him making that kind of jump in this race. And he's coming out of the New York traffic to get to the Derby. You talk about different avenues to reach the Derby. The Wood Memorial has not been a good avenue or stepping stone to become a Kentucky Derby winner. The best avenue to the Kentucky Derby in recent years has been the Florida Derby. So coming out of the Wood Memorial and finishing second in that race, I'm just not impressed with the right to party.
All right, Sean, let's talk about post 8 and 10. My dad's 2 favorites. Madge won it in post 8 in 2023. Giacomo won it in post 10 in 2005 at 50-1. Puma is a horse that is already on your radar. It is one of the horses you mentioned to me as a possible contender. Tell me why you think this horse has a shot to possibly win the Derby.
Yeah, the number 9 Puma was real close to being my top pick. I really like this horse. I did actually hit with Mage a few years back, and Gustavo Delgado is actually the trainer of Mage and is the trainer of the Puma. So I like the little connection there, going back to, one of my favorite, at least betting wise, Kentucky Derbies. And, like Marco said, the Florida Derbies really, produced a lot of definitely winners, but also just good efforts in leading up to the Derby. And you're getting the Puma, you're getting Commandment, you're getting Chief Wallabee in that, which is really a blanket finish in that race coming down the stretch. So if you like the 6-1 Commandment, I know a lot of people like Chief Wallabee in this spot. I don't see why you can't at least look at the Puma to give the Puma a little bit of a shot. He ran 100 buyer speed figure in that last race at the Florida Derby, and that's 2 buyer speed figures better than the favorite that we just spoke about in the number 1 Renegade. So speed figure alone, he's improving. He's improved in his last 3 starts in that speed figure. And if you watch what he did in the Florida Derby turning for home, it looked like Castellano almost wanted to save a little bit, didn't want to hit the front too early. Obviously you don't want to peak a month before the Kentucky Derby. You want your horse to peak, on this Saturday. So I really thought that Castellano tried to save a little bit, knowing Commandment was coming from behind. And then he tried to get after the Puma a little bit. And the Puma put away the favorite in that race. I believe it was nearly at 7-5. And when he did, he acted like a typical Tappet, kind of got lost on the lead, was looking around. And when Commandment came up next to him, he dug back in and only lost by a nose. So, like I said, if you like a short price and 6-1 on the number 6 Commandment or Chief Wallabee, I definitely think the number 9, the Puma, is deserves a look. And like I said, even a little bit more meaningful with one of my favorite Kentucky Derbies, Mage, winning and supporting his trainer leading up to this Saturday.
Now, Marco, I mentioned to you on our phone call earlier today that I don't like to buy into too much of the hype, right? Like if you look at, there's graphics all over social media of this many post positions, this, that. Well, guess what? This is what I'm looking into. 17, post position number 17 has never produced a Derby winner. The last time a post 17 horse even hit the top 5 was in 2005. And last year, if you remember, Sandman drew 17 as a top contender and everybody lost their minds. Is this position cursed? Should 6-speed just hang it up now?
Well, 6-speed, I don't think can go with this field, but what 6-speed does have, and that's what you need if you got post 17, you got to be a horse that can leave the gate. And you go back to last year, Sandman was anything but that. Sandman usually was coming from last or next to last in all of his races. So if you're getting post 17 and you don't have gate speed, now you've got to navigate the entire field. And because you didn't have speed to get out and at least get position, you're not only going to have to navigate through the entire field, most likely you're going to be navigating it wide, like Sean talked about, where you might end up being 6 or 7, 8 wide coming off that last turn, and you're just losing too much ground. As far as, is it a curse? Well, it's a curse till somebody wins out of post 17. But as I said about, you've got more winners on the inside post positions, 8 and lower, you're going to have less on the outside post position simply because there were less chances because we didn't have all full fields in every Kentucky Derby. And when you didn't have full field, there might not have been a 17 and 18, 19 or 20 to add to those statistics. So we will have somebody eventually win out of the post 17. But if we do, it's going to be a horse that has gate speed that can either be on the lead and control slow fractions or have enough gate speed to break from the outside, drop in, and sit just behind the leaders. This horse does have the gate speed, but I don't think he can carry it for the 1.25 miles. Plus, he's not faced competition like this.
All right, Sean, last question in regards to posts. I know it's getting a little redundant, but I did find some of these statistical anomalies to be rather interesting. And post 6, which has a horse that happens to be 6-1 in Commandment, I thought, okay, Sean is going to have this horse on his list. But this has not been a productive post. I feel like there has been nothing exciting about it. And so now I think I have to take Commandment off my try list, my superfecta list. Thoughts? Am I thinking too far into this one? Or has Commandment got the horses to be able to run with those?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the talent to run with this group. He's done so against Chief Wallabee in the Fountain of Youth 2 starts back, did so against the Puma and Chief Wallabee last start in the Florida Derby. And, if you look at his record, he hasn't done much wrong. Kind of threw in a little bit of a clunker his first time out, but then he romped in the maiden special weight at this track at Churchill Downs, winning by 5 1/4 lengths, and then came back and won a listed stakes race at Gulfstream by 6 3/4. And, like I said, he won the Fountain of Youth. He won the Florida Derby. So he's on a 4-win streak in a row. But then if you look back, he's had the likes of Irad Ortiz that rode. He's had Flavian Pratt. And we don't see either one of them jump on Commandment. We see Luis Saez for the first time riding Commandment on the first Saturday in May. And, nothing wrong with Luis Saez or Brad Cox making this decision. He's definitely a top jockey, hitting it 17% this year. But it's not necessarily the first time I want my jockey to be on the horse, in the post position, listening to my Kentucky home for the first time, getting to know and getting used to this horse. And, one thing I noticed when looking at the film of the last 2 starts, he kind of reminds me of a horse I had a small ownership back in the day of Tis a Magician. there was nothing wrong with his magician. He just kept grinding away, but he didn't really have that turn of foot to put away his competitors. And like I kind of talked about with Renegade, if he doesn't get the jump on, other horses, if other horses get, a few lengths and momentum ahead of him, he doesn't have the turn of foot to put away the other 19 horses in this big race. So while there's not really anything wrong with Commandment, I'm not going to talk anybody off using this horse, especially underneath, because of his grinding style. He's always putting his best foot forward. I just don't know if that best foot is good enough against these other horses.
All right, if you guys are new to Wager Talk, please give us that like, thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. And of course, we've got a nice special for you. Again, new users only, new clients only, first-time buyers only for Marco D'Angelo Derby 2. His Kentucky Derby package normally sells for $39. Right now, you can get it for just $2. That's the price of a $2 win ticket. And of course, if you're looking to partner up with Sean, Derby 10 gets you $10 off his Kentucky Derby package. As I mentioned, Sean's going to have horse specials up all year long over at WagerTalk.com. Marco, I would feel a little odd if we didn't talk about this, only because it's been more prevalent over the last few years, and that is the scratches. Last year, we had 2 horses in Grande and Rodriguez. In 2023, 5 horses scratched. I think it's probably safe to say we should plan on that again in 2026. Can you let everybody know how you approach a scratch in your handicapping?
Well, first thing I'm going to say, Kelly, is that when you do get a scratch, throw that horse in for an exacto with whatever your top choice is, just because if that horse hits the board, it's going to pay way more than it should, because you've got a lot of novice players that they don't understand about and also eligible moving into the field, and they just don't use it. Remember, in parimutuel betting, horse racing is different than sports betting. It's not fixed, what the payout's going to be. It's a pool that you're betting into with all the other players. And if people just forget to use that horse, you're going to have a bigger payout because there'll be less winning tickets. So take your best choice and throw a $2 exacta or a box in there with an also eligible that moves in, just because it's going to be inflated odds. The other point that I say that what you have to look at is people got to look at who moves in. The horse that moves in, is it a speed horse? Is it a stalker? Or is it a closer? If a closer, deep closer moves into the race, has no effect on your handicap. But if a speed horse moves into the race, it is a big factor. Why? Because now you've got another horse that's going to be coming from the outside that's going to move to the front. This year, the first also eligible is Great White. He is a horse that leaves the gate. So if somehow he gets into the race, it is going to make the early fractions a little bit faster. And how that changes your handicap is that increases the chances of horses that are stalkers and closers. When you have, especially the closers to make it on the ticket in the Kentucky Derby, need 2 things to happen. They need an honest pace or fast pace so that they can make up the ground. The other thing they need is racing luck. And that's why deep closers are a problem a lot of times in the Kentucky Derby, because you got to navigate through 15, 16 horses. Think about riding on the freeway. How many times have you been in the passing lane and you've been flying, and all of a sudden you come up on a car that's going slow? What do you got to do? You got to tap the brakes and lose your momentum. And that's what happens too often with closers in the Kentucky Derby. So watch what horses move in and what their racing style is. And this one is a speed horse.
It doesn't matter the sport. We all know I love those sizable underdogs. So we're going to give you guys some live long shots for the 2026 Kentucky Derby. Sean Alvarez, I'm going to go to you first. Tell us why you like Full Effort at 20-1.
Yeah, full effort all the way on the outside, the 20 path. This is, like Marco said, this is a horse that he doesn't necessarily need to clear all 19 horses to his inside. He's breaking all the way from the outside. He's just going to kind of stumble out of the gate a little bit and make his best running late. But if you look at what Turfway Park and specifically the Jeff Ruby Stakes has done leading up to the Kentucky Derby lately, we look all the way back to 2011. The winner of what is now the Jeff Ruby Stakes was Animal Kingdom, who came to Kentucky and wound up winning the Kentucky Derby. In 2022, that was Rich Strike won the Kentucky Derby. Two Phils in 2023 ran a second place finish, and last year we had Final Gambit ran a solid fourth place finish. So I think horses coming from Turfway, obviously a lot of the big knock on Full Effort is going to be, this is his first time running on dirt, but these other horses coming from the synthetic at Turfway have put together solid efforts. And what I really like about it is that Brad Cox went from the Jeff Ruby Stakes in late March, and he brought Full Effort straight over to Churchill Downs. And he's run 4 solid published works with a bullet of 59-1 just two works ago. So it's not a guess or, it's not a surprise that Full Effort is enjoying this Churchill Downs track and kind of leaning on, that form of horses winning the Jeff Ruby Stakes from Turfway. I'm going to lean on him at least underneath at a big old price at 20-1, and kind of similar to the scratches. The further out you get in the gate, some of these novice bettors aren't necessarily looking. They're making their decisions when they get to Renegade, when they get to, the 6, the 9. They're not necessarily looking all the way down the form. So I do think that we're going to get even a better price than 20-1 on Full Effort, and looking to hopefully spice up the exacta, trifecta, or super.
If you watch Bet on It with Marco and I during the NFL and college football season, I always tease Marco about the size of his dogs, but now at least he came to run with Sean Alvarez today. He also has an underdog horse, barking horses. Is that what it is, Marco? I know, all jokes aside. Marco likes the 14-horse Potente, also at 20-1.
Yeah, Kelly, I came with a 20-1 shot because, as we know from Bet on It, with you, size does matter. So we got a big one here for you. And Potente, this is a horse that's coming into the Derby. I just like the way he's going. Now, a lot of people are going to look and say, well, if you like Potente at 20-1, why wouldn't you just go to So Happy at 15-1? Yeah, you're losing 5 points on the odds there, but So Happy won the Santa Anita Derby, beat Potente. Well, if you go back and watch that race, Potente did all of the work. He left the gate and was locked up in a battle with another horse the entire race. And what ended up happening, he put the other horse away. And so often you see when 2 horses battle on the lead, the horse that wins that early battle and thinks he's got it, turning for home, ends up getting caught from somebody coming from behind off his back that is using his, brush as one move then. And that's what happened with So Happy. He just got the trip in that race that day. In this year's Kentucky Derby, I don't see Potente out on the lead and battling the entire race because, as we talked about, the other horse, the 17 horse, is going to be doing that 6-speed. So what we end up having is he's going to break from gate 14, which is perfect. You're going to get that straight shot to the first turn. He's got gate speed. There's not a lot of gate speed inside of him, and there's a few to the outside, which is perfect. He can drop over to wherever he wants, and I expect him to be sitting probably second, third, or fourth just off that first flight. And that's what you want to do in the Kentucky Derby because you want to be close to the lead, but you don't want to be right on the lead if it's a fast pace. But when you're in that stalking position right behind the speed, you're going to have the first jump on all of the closers. And if you look at how this horse is leading into this race, he only has 3 career starts. So nowhere has he got close to his ceiling yet. And if you look at those 3 races and you look at the Beyer speed figures, he has improved dramatically in each start. He broke his maiden with the 79 Beyer speed figure. They put him right in the San Felipe after that, a grade 2 stake race. He won that by a head, improved his Beyer speed figure from 79 to 89. And then in the Santa Anita Derby, like I said, he battled throughout, tired, deep stretch, just got beat by a couple lengths. He put up a 95 in that one. If he takes another step forward here, like I expect, in the way he trained the other day, you're going to hear a lot of people say he went too fast. But the way he did it, he didn't exert himself. And after the race, there's a phrase in horse racing that the trainers will use, if he went too much, he couldn't blow a candle out. He wasn't winded. Okay, that is the sign of a fit horse. I would rather see a horse wanting to run off and you have to strangle him not to go too fast than a horse go out there and have a dull effort. He put up a monster last workout. He went 57-4 in that workout for 5 furlongs and then jogged out afterwards and came back to the barn hardly blowing. So I like him. I think he's got a big shot at a big price on Saturday.
All right, now it's time for some best bets. We're going to call this the team ticket trifecta just because it seems like a lot of fun. But these are 3 horses that we all believe need to be in your trifectas, your superfectas, maybe throw an exacta box in there. Sean gave me a little bit of history, and I thought this was interesting. A 4-horse trifecta box, $1, will cost you $24 to wager. And the average payout over the last 3 years, $590. This one hopefully will pay out just a little bit more. I'm bringing down the odds, unfortunately, though, because I'm going to give you guys a horse that is 5-1, and I can't figure out why no one is talking about the 18-horse Further Ado. Gate speed. We know he's going to lead from the outside. And one of Marco's favorite things to talk about, this is his 3rd stop off a layoff. That's right. He took 2nd place in the Florida Derby after not racing since November. And then he just went out and won the Bluegrass by 11 lengths. What did Sean Alvarez say earlier? Oh, yeah, something about peaking at the right time. Sean, before you give us your best bet, let everybody know what they can expect from you over at WagerTalk.com for this year's Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, so I'm going to have full card selections, both going to be top pick selections, but I'm also going to give you my 2nd and 3rd choice just to kind of help you with your wagers if I don't have an exacta in there, but you want to play it. And then I'm also going to have my own plays that I think not only are good plays that I have substantial reasoning throughout the form to make those plays, but also provide value. So I'm going to have that available both on Friday and Saturday. So Friday for the Oaks, Saturday for the Kentucky Derby, and then you can use the promo code Derby10 for $10 off on if you want to package both those together or if you want to get one day or the other. So head over to WagerTalk and use the promo code Derby10.
All right, Sean, this is an interesting one because the Post 15 has 2 Triple Crown winners, American Pharoah and Authentic, and you like the horse Emerging Market currently at 15-1.
Yeah, I mean, 15-1 with the human connections of Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. You're not necessarily going to see that very often, but you will hear a lot about the fact that this is a very lightly raced horse. He only has 2 career starts. A horse hasn't won the Kentucky Derby with 2 career starts, I believe, dating back to the 1800s. So it is a long amount of history to overcome. But Chad Brown's the king of the turf. However, he is getting a little bit better on the dirt and specifically around the Preakness. So when you see Emerging Market run as well as he did in his maiden victory and then coming back in his last start and winning the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby, for me as a handicapper, I really thought that they'd skip the Derby and they would really kind of pinpoint or target the Preakness in a couple weeks. But if you listen to Chad Brown's interviews, he's always so coy. He's not giving you much. Doesn't really want to give you his opinions. He basically says he loves all his horses with an equal chance. But if you listen to his interviews about Emerging Market, he seems like a giddy kid excited about opening his presents on Christmas morning. Definitely excited about this horse. And he has the history of skipping the Kentucky Derby, even when qualifying. In 2022, early voting was 16th in the Kentucky Derby leaderboard, could easily gotten the starting gate on the first Saturday of May, but he was quoted as saying he's scratching from the Derby because he has an unrealistic chance and horses need more experience to win a race like the Derby. And then 4 years later, he's more excited about Emerging Market than I've seen him on any other horse. So I definitely think that this horse is peaking at the right time. I like the fact that a Hall of Fame type trainer and Chad Brown just can't keep smiling during interviews when talking about him. And then, like I said, you get Flavian Pratt. Flavian Pratt's ridden in the Kentucky Derby 8 times. He's come in the top 3, 6 of those 8 times. So I'd say he has a pretty good track record. And as one of the best jockeys in the country, you get a jockey that not only is riding well at his home courses, but he can carry his tack to another track and ride as well as he is at Churchill Downs. I will take that 15-1 and go running to the window.
Be sure to follow Sean on X at Smooth Turn 2. I'm sure he's going to have some other Derby knowledge he is dropping there. I can't wait for that Oaks card. Last year it was incredible. Marco D'Angelo, please let everybody know what you've got going on, not only for the Derby, but also the Oaks over at WagerTalk.com, and why you might be the only guy on YouTube that doesn't give a damn about some blinkers.
Yes, Kelly. We've got 2 offers for you. We've got the same offer that Sean has. You can get $10 off my package on Saturday. It's the Kentucky Derby package. Now, what that package will have is obviously my Kentucky Derby picks, a couple other races on the Kentucky Derby card. I picked my spots. My dad taught me early on, you can beat a race, but you can't beat the races. I'm not going to be playing every single race on the Saturday card, but I will have some races for you. You'll get all of that in that package. You'll also get my sports picks, and we've been doing very well with our baseball, basketball, and hockey. You'll get everything that I got on Saturday. That package sells for $39. Use the coupon code Derby10. You'll get $10 off. But if you've never bought a package at WagerTalk, you've never bought anything from anybody at WagerTalk, first-time buyer, we got a special deal for you. Use the coupon code Derby2. It's Derby and the number 2. You can get that $39 package for an insane $2. That's the price of a $2 win ticket, and you'll get all of my stuff for Saturday. So head over to wagertalk.com right now. Lock it in. The package is up already. We'll be adding the plays Friday night for the Kentucky Derby and Saturday morning for the sports plays. But get yourself locked in. You'll get notified every time I add something to that package. Now, Kelly, you talk about blinkers. And the blinker situation is Chief Wallabee is adding blinkers. And all the experts are going nuts, saying that the last 11 horses to add blinkers before the Kentucky Derby have all lost. Okay, that's nice. It's a good stat. It's great. But here's the difference with Chief Wallabee. And first, I'm going to tell you, and Kelly can attest to it, I've been riding the Chief Wallabee bandwagon before there was a bandwagon, okay? I liked this horse before the Fountain of Youth when it was just his second start. This is a horse that's had 3 starts, and he's been first, second, and third. The grand total of his 2 defeats is less than a length. This is a lightly raced colt, and if you know Bill Mott, he races a horse into shape. He doesn't have them ready to fire right out of the gate. I'll give you an example. Wesley Ward is a trainer that is an automatic with a 2-year-old making his or her first start. He has his horses ready to fire at first asking. He likes that early money with horses. Bill Mott builds the foundation on a horse, and this horse won his maiden. That's something that generally doesn't happen from Bill Mott. Then he put him straight into a stake race, the Fountain of Youth. That's something else that Bill Mott usually doesn't do. He generally would have had this horse race in an allowance race after he broke his maiden, but the schedule just didn't dictate it. The race he wanted to go in didn't fill, but he felt confident enough in Chief Wallabee to put him in the Fountain of Youth. Then he finished second. He got beat a neck. Who did he get beat by? Commandment, one of the favorites in the race. And in that race, he was wide the whole trip, where Commandment come up the inside, saved all the ground, and only beat him by a neck, and that was only Chief Wallabee's second start. Then in his third start, the Florida Derby, he was locked down on the rail and didn't get out till late. He had to literally drag the horse sideways, and if you go back and watch that replay, Chief Wallabee had his head cocked. He kind of was fighting him a little bit when he was trying to drag him to the outside. Well, if you're going sideways, instead of being able to go with your full move, you lost a little bit of momentum. And what ended up happening, the Puma got the jump on both him and Commandment in the Florida Derby. Puma cleared and got to the rail. Then when we finally got out, Chief Wallabee, he started to make his move, but Commandment had position on him on the outside. So he had to come down the stretch and try to split the Puma and Commandment on the outside. I can tell you, young horses, especially young horses that only have 2 or 3 starts like he did, don't like going through tight quarters. He had to try to split those 2 horses, and he didn't do it. And thus, now let's get to the blinkers. Why? I think they're putting the blinkers on to get him focused, and he gained the experience of those couple situations that he encountered in the Fountain of Youth and Florida Derby. And because horses can't talk and tell you what equipment they need, my trainer always has the saying with the horses, I'm still getting the horse hung up. And that means putting all the right equipment on him. When people make a drastic change like blinkers, it's because a horse isn't doing well and they need to make a change. This horse is doing well. This is a move to make him better. I love the move on him. I love Chief Wallabee. I've been riding him all the way. I'm riding him here again, Kelly. Chief Wallabee for me, number 12.
All right. Well, I hope you guys ride this trifecta ticket all the way to the cashier's window. I am Kelly Stewart, Sean Alvarez, Marco D'Angelo. Until the next Kentucky Derby, good luck, guys.